Good morning, everyone. Morning, everyone, and thank you for coming to our council meeting, planning meeting, and well, both of them. I'll call this meeting to order at 9:30. And I will confirm that all members of council are present, as well as the municipal clerk. Territorial land acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that the township of Alma-Cullivan is located on the Mississauga-Nashanimbic territory and is the traditional territory of the Mississauga-Nashanimbic. The township of Alma-Cullivan respectfully acknowledges that the Mississauga Nation are the collective stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters in perpetuity, and that they continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure their health and integrity for generations to come. Number 3, approval of the agenda. Motion to approve the agenda. That the agenda of the municipal planning / regular council meeting held on November 26, 2024 be approved. Did I get moved in a second? Moved by Councillor Booth and seconded by Councillor Ainsworth. Any discussion? All in favor? That motion is carried. Next, we have disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. Does anyone wish to declare? Seeing none, that will be noted. Next is number 5, and it's a motion to move to a land division / committee of adjustment meeting. And the recommended resolution is that the council of the township of Alma-Cullivan, being a land division committee / committee of adjustment, move to the land division committee adjustment meeting at 9:37 a.m. Can I get moved in a second? Moved by Councillor O'Neill, seconded by Deputy Mayor Stover. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. Motion to reconvene to a municipal. Switch to green. Okay, we're now in the Committee of Adjustment Land Division meeting. And I'll call this meeting to order at 9:38 a.m. And again, we have a quorum, so that'll be noted. The territorial land acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that the township of Alma-Cullivan is located on the Mississauga-Nashanimbic territory and is the traditional territory of the Mississauga-Nashanimbic. The township of Alma-Cullivan respectively acknowledges that the Mississauga Nation are the collective stewards and caretakers of these lands and waters in perpetuity, and that they continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure their health and the integrity for generations to come. Next, we have item 3.1, which is the approval of the agenda. That the agenda of the Committee of Adjustment / the Land Division Committee meeting held on November 26, 2024 be approved. Mover and seconder. Deputy Mayor Stover moves. Second by Councillor Ainsworth. Any discussion? All in favor? The motion is carried. Disclosure of pecuniary interest. Anybody have anything to declare? Seeing none, that'll be noted. Next, we have the minutes of the October 22nd meeting, and is recommended that the council, the Committee of Adjustment / the Land Division Committee of the Corporation of the Township of Alma-Cullivan enact as follows: that the minutes for the Committee of Adjustment / Land Division Committee meeting held on October 22nd, 2024 be approved. Did I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councillor Ainsworth. Seconded by Councillor Booth. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Is there any business arising from those minutes? Again, seeing none, we'll move on. We're going to move on to consents. And the first application for consent is through the estate of Graham Stratford, and it's for applications AH 19 2024 and AH 2024. Gracie, you going to lead us through this, please?
Yes, thank you. Good morning. Through the chair, the purpose of application AH 19-2024 is to create a 0.33 hectare lot addition for the Fairview Cemetery. Application AH 20-2024 will create a 1.18 hectare rural residential lot. A 14.67 hectare lot will be retained. The subject property is located east of Grafton on the south side of the private portion of Cherry Hill Road. It is developed with a single detached dwelling and accessory structures. There is frontage on the property south side where Shelter Valley Road intersects with County Road 2. The Fairview Cemetery is located to the southwest of the property. There are large rural lots and rural residential lots to the north, east, west, and south. The Grafton Creekside Golf Course is located southeast of the property. The site contains a tributary of Shelter Valley Creek and a tributary of Lake Ontario, locally known as Grafton Creek. Unevaluated wetlands are mapped centrally in the property along the southwestern property boundary. There is an evaluated wetland in the southeast corner of the property. The proposal is consistent with the provincial planning statement, the township of Alma-Calderman, and the county's official plan. The subject property is currently zoned rural in the zoning bylaw 19-2019. The rural zone permits a wide range of uses, including cemeteries, single detached dwellings, agricultural or farm uses, forestry uses, and bed and breakfast establishments, with others. The minimum lot size is 5 hectares and the minimum lot frontage is 60 meters. The proposed rural residential severed lot does not meet the 5 hectare minimum lot area for a rural lot. The retained lot will not meet the minimum frontage. It should be noted that access to the existing dwelling is provided from the private road portion of Cherry Hill Road. By maintaining frontage for the retained lot on an open and maintained public street, conformity with frontage requirements found in section 4.13 of zoning bylaw 19-2019 will be ensured. This section does not permit construction of buildings and structures unless the lot fronts on an open public street maintained year-round, with the exception of agricultural buildings and structures. The proposal requires the rezoning of the severed and retained lots to address the lot area. It would be appropriate to rezone the lot addition to the Fairview Cemetery to community facility, so the lands will be in the same zone category as the benefiting lands for the lot addition. The application was circulated to departments and agencies for comments. Public Works had noted that they have no concerns with the proposal and indicated that an entrance permit application will be required for the severed lot prior to development. Northumberland County reviewed the application and had no objection to the proposal, and they advised that the proposal has no adverse impacts on nearby county roads or infrastructure. Prior to issuance of a building permit, sewage system permits would be required. The Lower Trent Conservation Authority had no objection to the applications. They noted that the lands to be added to Fairview Cemetery may contain unevaluated wetlands that could extend 30 meters into the property, resulting in a third of the lands to be constrained. And they recommend that the owners of the benefiting lands be provided with their detailed comments, and a wetland assessment may be necessary on the lands depending on the future use of the lands by the cemetery. Formal clearance for a permit will be required for development activities on the severed land. The Lower Trent Conservation Authority has asked for a site plan to demonstrate that the proposed driveway and the developable area of the proposed residential lot are not constrained by the wetland and the regulatory buffer requirements. a technical memo or a detailed site plan that depicts the development activities outside of the wetland and setback will be required as a condition of approval. Notice of the application was circulated to all registered owners within 60 meters and a sign was posted. No comments have been received to date on the proposal. The proposed severed lots are located in a rural part of the municipality with frontage on Shelter Valley Road, which is a year-round municipally maintained road. A rezoning is required to place the lot addition into the community facility zone and to address the lot area for the rural residential lot and frontage for the retained lands. The wetlands and associated buffers are to be placed in environmental protection zone. As noted, the proposal is in conformity with the provincial planning statement and the township and county official plans. We are recommending approval with typical conditions in addition to the requirement for demonstrating through either a detailed site plan or technical memo that the entrance, access, and development envelope can be situated on the proposed lot for the severed residential lot in accordance with the regulations. And that is and a rezoning is also required in addition to typical requirements, as well as an archaeological assessment due to the location and proximity to a cemetery, wetlands, and water courses. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Planner. Does council have any questions regarding this application? Seeing none, Mr. Stratford, would you have any comments or questions for the?
I just have one question. In the agenda, it specified the fees that the additional fees that have to be paid. There's a development fee and a parkland fee. I'm just not sure how those are calculated. Can I get an explanation of those?
Thank you through the chair. A few years ago, there was a report for for cash in lieu of parkland. At the time, it was agreed that $1,500 would be acceptable. The Planning Act allows for 5% of the value of the lot the day before it's approved to be collected. And we're moving ahead with that in the new year. We've done a fee update and that was included within that update. In terms of development charges, it's based on the development charges bylaw, and we can provide a copy with that to the applicant. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Oh, and under the Planning Act, we have the ability to collect those at the time of approval of an application.
So what was you said in the new year, like 2025, something, I didn't quite understand that.
Right. So applications that come in next year, the change will apply to the collection of cash in lieu of parkland. Right now it's set at $1,500. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stratford. Does any members of the public have any questions? Yes. Please come ahead.
Under the land division notice for application of severance, Jean Wilson, secretary for the Fairview Cemetery Board. The dimensions of AH 1924 in this document are different than what we've agreed to with the Stratfords, but also different from what is on the documents from the Trent Valley Conservation Agency. So I guess I'm wondering about the discrepancy and if this is approved and then it's surveyed, if the survey distances are different, will that affect the approval?
Thank you, Mrs. Wilson. Madam Planner. You sit, you want to sit there and get your answer? In case you have another follow-up?
Provided there's not a significant difference in the dimensions, if it meets the intent of the decision, we can look at minor adjustments through the survey. Do you have an idea of what the discrepancy is?
Please go ahead. Please go ahead, Mrs. Wilson, whenever you're ready. Microphone.
The hectares are the same, in both documents, to 0.82 difference, 0.82 acres, which is about 400 by 90 feet. Sorry, I haven't put this all in my head all in meters. The 109 meters works out to about 357 feet. So it's a difference of almost 50 feet.
I would say that's significant.
So
Not sure what the planner would say to that, but
yeah. And both documents agree that it's 0.33 hectares. But the frontage, when multiplied out, doesn't work out to that in the township document.
you have a question, Madam Planner?
Response, sorry, through the chair. I think if the lot area is consistent, and in this case, it's a lot addition, so it technically doesn't have lot frontage, so it would be the width of the lot. As long as the area is consistent, I think we can argue that it meets the intention of the application.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I understand we have 3 people on the line that may have some questions regarding this application. If you do have questions, please identify yourself and then we'll accept your question.
Through you, Mayor Local, for anybody attending online, if you could raise your hand by using either Control Y or Option Y, that'll signal to us that you have a question in regards to any of the applications before us today.
We have another member of the public that I believe might have a question.
Yeah, I'm Gay Hoskin, chairperson of Fairview Cemetery. The Lower Trent refers to the Grafton Creek. I've lived here for 70 years or more, and I've never heard of the Grafton Creek. Which one, whereabouts is that according to our cemetery?
How long have you lived here?
More than that.
I'm only about 65 or something like that, so I've never heard of Grafton Creek neither, but
It's mentioned in the Lower Trent. Somebody must know which one it is.
Councillor Ainsworth, do you have a comment? Councillor Ainsworth sits on Lower Trent, so he may be able to share some information.
Yes, through you, Mayor. So this actually came up in a conversation I had at our last board meeting, and Lower Trent Conservation doesn't have a name for that for that little stream, so they've just literally called it Grafton Creek.
Oh, okay.
It's never been identified as anything. Because it comes out of those ponds up in through the north end of the properties up through there. And so that's kind of the name they come up with just for their own references.
So which side of the cemetery is that on?
Answer that, Madam Planner?
I think it would be on the west side, right?
West side.
West side. I'll get a sign up so we know what.
Thank you, Mr. Hoskin. Mike, you have a further question?
Yeah, I do. I know, through you, Mayor. So also question to Tracy is with that regulation 4124 of the setbacks changing, does that interfere with anything here?
Through the chair, the conditions, make note of the need for the site plan to show that the development limits are outside of that regulatory area, and there's enough footprint area for construction of the dwelling. If there's not, as mentioned with the area of the other application for the lot addition, if they need to adjust the lot limits to meet that requirement, that would meet the intention of the recommendation as well. There's also note in the comments about the lot addition and how there likely is some wetlands in the vicinity of the cemetery lot addition. And so the cemetery should follow up with Lower Trent as to their specific plans for the use of those lands to see if there is any further requirements to meet that regulation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Right, thank you, Madam Planner. Any further questions? Committee Member O'Neill.
Through you, are you committee member logo now?
No, I'm the chair.
Chair logo, through you, chair logo. Do you anticipate there'll be any delay in addressing the question that Reverend Wilson asked about the variations?
I would expect that we would sort that out through the surveyor when they submit a draft reference plan. And it's something that we can deal with at a staff level.
Okay, I'm just checking because to the first question about the fees, I didn't want them to be charged the 2025 fees because we were sorting that question out, so.
And those fees would apply only to the residential lot and not to the addition for the cemetery because it's assumed that it had already been developed, the original portion of the lot. So we don't apply those fees to an existing developed
Makes sense.
lot. Thank you.
Thank you. Committee Member O'Neill,
Just to clarify then,
are you speaking to the chair or are you speaking to?
through you to our planner, just to clarify on that then, both already exist. It's already a graveyard. It's already a residential property. Right?
Through the chair, so it's one residential property and they're creating an additional lot. So the development charges and the cash in lieu of parkland applies to the new lot that's being created. So there's two applications at hand.
Okay. So then on the new lot, they could build something, is that the idea?
Yeah, so on the rural residential lot that they're creating through application,
20?
yes, application 20. That is where a new house would be
Okay,
likely,
now I've got it
and
straight.
that would be what the charges are applied to. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to read the resolution that application AH 19-2024 to sever a parcel of land for a lot addition to the Fairview Cemetery and application AH 20-2024 for the creation of a rural residential lot by the estate of Graham Stratford in concession 1, part of lot 19, geographically in the township of Haldeman, are approved subject to the following conditions. 1, that a registered survey for the severed parcels be submitted to the township. Number 2, in addition to the registry survey, a georeference DWG file on the survey be provided in a format satisfactory to the township and Northumberland County. Number 3, that it be demonstrated that through a dimension site plan or technical memo, that an entrance, access, and development envelope can be situated on the proposed severed lot for application AH 20-2024 that meets LTC regulatory policies. Number 4, that a draft transfer and a certificate of official for the severed parcels be submitted to the township. Number 5, that a severed parcel subject to application AH 19-2024 be deemed as a lot addition to the recipient property, and that the application's lawyer submit an undertaking to register a consolidation on title giving effect to the lot addition. Number 6, that the tax accounts for the subject property be paid up to date. Number 7, that an archaeological site assessment be prepared by a qualified professional and submitted for review. The applicant must provide acknowledgement of submission of the assessment to the Ministry of Citizenship and Multiculturalism. Number 8, that a zoning bylaw amendment be in effect for the severed and retained parcels pursuant to the Planning Act. Number 9, that $12,796.34 development charges for the severed lot be paid to the Township of Allen-Calderman. And number 10, that $1,500 cash in lieu of parkland fee for the severed lot be paid for the Township of Allen-Calderman. Can I get a motion from to approve? Committee member Stover and committee member Ainsworth. As a second. All in favor? That motion is approved. I'm going to move on to motion to adjourn. It is recommended the Council of a Committee of Adjustment Land Transfer Committee of the Corporation of the Township of Allen-Calderman enact as follows. That the Committee of Adjustment / the Land Division Committee meeting held on November 26, 2024 be adjourned at 10:05 a.m. Did I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by committee member O'Neill and seconded by committee member Booth. All in favor? The motion is carried. We're going back to the Land Division / the Committee of Adjustment meeting. We're going to reconvene to the Municipal Planning Regular Council meeting. I have a prepared motion that the Council of the Township of Allen-Calderman, being a Land Division Committee or a Committee of Adjustment, reconvene to the Municipal Plan / Regular Council meeting at 10:06 a.m. And we need a motion to go into a public meeting.
No, we need that motion first.
Okay, I need a mover and a seconder for that one at 9:37. 10:06. Can I get a mover and a seconder to do that? Moved by. Moved by Councilor O'Neill, seconded by Councilor Ainsworth. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. Now we have a motion to go into a public meeting. It is recommended the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Allen act as follows. That the council go into a public meeting under section 34 of the Planning Act at 10:07 a.m. on November 26, 2024. Could I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Councilor Booth, seconded by Deputy Mayor Stover. All in favor? That motion's carried. First one on TAC is the zoning bylaw amendment for Gray Denafton Farms. The application is Z11-2024. Madam Planner, please go ahead.
Thank you. Through the mayor, on June 25th, 2024, the Land Division Committee approved application AH 05-2024 for the severance of a rural residential lot with an existing single detached dwelling and 3 outbuildings. This application proposes to amend the zoning of the residential lands to rural residential and apply a special rural number 154 with a holding zone to the lands currently zoned rural and environmental protection, which was missed in the description in the background. The subject property is located on the east side of Beecham Road, south of County Road 2, and immediately north of the CNCP rail corridor in the southeast quadrant of the municipality. A tributary of Shelter Valley Creek flows through the property on the lands adjacent to a water course in the northern portion of the property, which is heavily forested. Lower Trent Conservation Mapping identified a wetland on the property surrounding the water course. The floodway of Shelter Valley Creek crosses Beauchamp Road and Bunlock Road north of the subject property. The property contains a single detached dwelling, detached garage, and 2 accessory buildings. A barn and silo were recently demolished. The balance of the lands are under agricultural cultivation. Surrounding land uses are a mix of agricultural, rural residential, and recreational commercial uses. Coburg East Campground is located north of the subject property, and the CNCP rail corridor forms the southern property boundary. Lands on the on the west side of Beauchamp Road are under active agricultural cultivation. Provided that the retained lands are placed in a holding symbol, the property is found to comply with the provincial policy planning statement. Sorry, it's been recently changed in October of 2024. The road elevation along Beauchamp Road and Bunlock Road between the subject lands and the northwesterly limit of the floodplain should be confirmed by an interior land surveyor, so Lower Trent Conservation can confirm whether safe access is possible, i.e. that the depth of flooding during a regulatory flood event would not exceed the height of the road by 0.3 meters or more. The proposal is consistent with the county and township's official plans, provided again that the holding symbol is applied to address the need to confirm the elevation limits of the floodplain. Within the zoning bylaw, the township's bylaw 2019, the subject lands are zoned rural and environmental protection and environmentally sensitive area. The proposed rezoning to rural residential, which permits a single detached dwelling on a 0.4 hectare lot, is necessary to recognize the proposed lot area, which does not conform with the rural lot area of 5 hectares. The holding symbol is proposed to be applied to the retained rural lands to prevent development until it has been demonstrated that there is safe access in accordance with section 5.2 of the provincial planning statement. The proposal was circulated to departments and agencies for comment. Public Works noted that there is an existing entrance for the proposed severed lands. Should development be proposed on the retained lands, an entrance permit is required. Lower Trent Conservation Authority reviewed the application and advised that they would have no objection to the approval of the application provided a holding symbol is applied. The holding symbol is to prohibit new residential development on the subject lands unless it has been demonstrated that safe access to the lands can be achieved during a regulatory flood event to the satisfaction of Lower Trent Conservation. Detailed comments have been provided to the applicant, so they're aware of the regulatory area on their lands. Northumberland County reviewed the application and had no objection to the proposal. Notice of the application was circulated to all registered owners within 120 meters of the property and a sign was posted. No public comments have been received to date. The subject property is located in a rural part of the municipality on Beecham Road, a year-round maintained road. There are no natural heritage features on the proposed severed lot. The severed lot does not comply with the minimum lot area for the rural zone and needs to be rezoned to rural residential in order to permit the proposed use and the consent. Lower Trent Conservation has requested a holding symbol be applied to the entire subject property. Staff is not proposing to add the holding symbol to the existing dwelling, but has added it to the retained agricultural lands. Should new development be proposed on the retained lands in the future, it will need to be demonstrated that safe access to the lands can be achieved during a regulatory flood event. We are recommending approval of the application. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Planner. One comment. You used, first time you referred to Beauchamp, and the second one is Beecham. I think the actual correct one is Beecham. Just a comment. So.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I'm trying to get the locally pronounced version versus the English
Yeah.
pronunciation is a struggle for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam. Any questions or comments from council? Yes, go ahead. Councilor.
Through you, Mayor, to our planner. In the past, we've had some severances down on Beecham Road and we didn't put a holding, actually we lifted the holding zone here in council because of the area. For a past severance that was down there. So when it came to the flood.
Pardon me, I didn't catch that word. Pass?
The pass.
Okay.
In past, so I would suggest that maybe as council that, you know, and it's going to come up as it is. I mean, because things got changed with the Conservation Act. And all these buildings are already down there and they're typically in the flood zone, all of them, and the 100-year flood plan. So to create an issue for someone else that's buying the land, for them to have a holding zone on it because of the 100-year floodplain, with the existing houses already there, to me, it just, I don't know, you know, do they build it 5 feet in the air if they want to build something, or do they build it onto the ground? Do they put dikes around it? This is something that needs to be talked about, or if it's even a laneway going into the property.
Thank you. Madam Planner, do you have a comment on that?
Through the mayor, as mentioned, in order to conform with policy, not just the regulations of the Conservation Authority, but the provincial planning statement and as well as policies within our plan, it's appropriate to recommend approval of the holding symbol. There's an identified risk, and I think that that's the appropriate approach. It's my understanding that the retained lands are to be used for agricultural cultivation, and there's no intention at this point to develop the lands. In order to confirm the safety of the road, it would require elevations be taken by a surveyor to identify whether that road is at a height above the floodplain or not. So I think that is an appropriate ask if someone were to add more housing in an area where there's an identified potential hazard. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Planner. Other questions? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Through you, Mayor Logal, to Madam Planner. I know that road and I know it as the Beecham. I guess we could call it the Graftonese. But looking at that road, the elevation goes, the road goes up and then I believe it goes down closer to the tracks. So this holding symbol would just be on the agricultural part. It wouldn't have any holding on the house that's already there. And it would expedite the owners to be able to use it for the need of obtaining it for the agricultural part of it. So I do see the part that it is, the elevation is going down lower. So it would be wetter. Just a comment. That's all I wanted to add to the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Further questions or comments to council? Seeing none, I believe the applicant is here today. Would you like to come to the table and ask any questions of the planner that you meet? No, I'm good the way it's proposed. Thank you. Any members of the public that have questions or comments regarding this application? Seeing none, but we do have 3 people online. Anybody online who would like to comment, can you please state your name and we'll take the question. Seeing none? Any further questions? Okay, we'll move on to zoning bylaw amendment for Ray Doughton. Ray Doughton, pardon me. I'm not trying to make it French either. Great Afton Farms, ZO10 2024. And Tracy, please bring us up to date on this.
Thank you. Through the mayor, on April 30th, 2024, the Land Division Committee approved application AH04 2024 for a lot line adjustment for the subject property. The approval resulted in the consolidation of agricultural lands onto one of the parcels and residential lands onto the other. The application proposes to amend the zoning of the residential lands. The subject property is located at 11719 County Road 2 on the south side of County Road 2. The property contains an existing single detached dwelling and farmlands. The agricultural lands will be consolidated with a parcel that fronts onto Kernigan Road. Knight's Apple Farm and the village of Wicklow are located to the west. There are farms to the north, east, and south. The subject property has tributaries of Lake Ontario traversing through the northern and central portions of the subject lands. There are unevaluated wetland features located in the central portion of the lands and most southern portion of the benefiting lands. The proposal is consistent with the provincial planning statement, Northumberland County, and the township of Almac-Haldeman official plans. On Schedule A of the Township of Almac-Haldeman zoning bylaw 19/2019, the property is zoned rural with an environmentally sensitive area in the vicinity of watercourses. Both the rural zone permits agricultural and farm uses. The zone requires a minimum lot area of 5 hectares and a lot frontage of 60 meters. It is proposed to rezone the residential lands to special rural residential number 65 to address the lot area of 0.36 hectares, which does not meet the minimum lot area of 0.4 hectares for the parent rural residential zone. Application AH04 2024 included an easement for a well and a shared driveway, which are located on the adjacent property. When factoring in the area of the easement lands, the area allocated to the residential use does exceed 0.4 hectares. The application was circulated to departments and agencies. Public Works had no concerns with the proposal, as well as Lower Trent Conservation. Detailed comments were provided, so they're aware of regulatory areas on their retained lands. Northumberland County had no objections to the proposal, and neither did Enbridge Gas. The application was circulated to all owners within 120 meters of the subject property, and a sign was posted. No public comments have been received to date. The proposed zoning bylaw amendment is required to address a lot line adjustment as it applies to the residential lands. Agricultural lands will be combined into one of the existing lots, while the existing residential dwelling will remain on the other. Both lots will be appropriately sized for the use that remain. The proposed lot or the existing lot that's being adjusted to include the house does not comply with the minimum lot frontage and area for the rural zone. It's proposed to rezone it to special rural residential number 65. As mentioned, the property or the proposal is in compliance with provincial and local policies, and we are recommending approval of the application. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Planner. Any questions from members of council? Seeing none, is there anybody from the public, or anybody from, the public that want to comment on this or to talk about it? Is there anybody online that would want to address this application? Seeing none, is there anybody representing the applicant today? There he is. Do you have any comments, sir? Thank you very much. We're going to move on to the next one. And it's a zoning bylaw amendment for Andres, Mykos, and Maria. And please correct me, Maria, if I get this wrong, but it's Simazetti. And the application is Z092024. Madam Planner, would you like to address this for us, please?
Yes, thank you. On September 24th, 2024, the Land Division Committee approved application AH 10/2024 for a lot line adjustment. A rural residential lot was originally approved in June of 2022 through application A13/2022. This application will see the lot lines adjusted to increase the lot width to the south and decrease its depth to the west. The subject property is located on the west side of Shelter Valley Road in the southeast quadrant of the municipality.
You want to hold for a second? You're going to be long. Please go ahead.
The subject property is located on the west side of Shelter Valley Road in the southeast quadrant of the municipality. There is a single detached dwelling and accessory buildings on site. Shelter Valley Creek runs along the east side of Shelter Valley Road. There are unevaluated wetland features located on the adjacent lands to the southeast. Surrounding land uses are a combination of rural residential development along Shelter Valley Road frontage, rural forested lands, and agricultural parcels to the west of the subject property. A drumlin with a significant change in topography bisects the property, and a dwelling was recently constructed on the eastern side of the drumlin. A sloped portion of the property is heavily forested, and on the west side of the drumlin, the northwest corner has been cleared and based on area photography appears to be under agricultural cultivation. There are large tracts of cultivated agricultural lands located west and south of the subject property. The proposal is consistent with the provincial planning statement, the township of Almac, and the county's official plans. The lot created through AH 13/2022 was rezoned to rural residential through amending bylaw 118/2022 for application Z 17/2022. The balance of the subject property is zoned rural within the zoning bylaw 19/2019. The proposed 0.4 hectare severed lot resulting from the lot lines adjustments is smaller than the minimum lot size for the rural zone. Therefore, it's proposed to rezone the rural residential to a rural residential zone for the portions that are currently zoned rural. The lands that are to be removed from the residential lot are proposed to be zoned rural. The application was circulated to departments and agencies, and there have been no concerns or objections from those agencies. Detailed comments from Lower Trent identifying regulatory areas on the retained lands have been provided to the applicant. Notice of the application was circulated to all registered owners within 120 meters of the property, and a sign was posted. No comments have been received as of the writing of the report from the public. The proposed zoning bylaw amendment is located in a rural part of the municipality on Shelter Valley Road, a year-round municipally maintained road. There are no natural heritage or natural hazard features on the proposed severed lot. The rezoning is required to address the lot area for the rural residential lot. The limits of the rural residential zone boundary are proposed to be revised to correspond with the new lot lines. The rural zone will be applied to the lands that are no longer within the rural residential lot. Based on that and the fact that the proposal is consistent with the policies, we are recommending approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Planner. Any questions or comments from council members? Seeing none, is there someone representing the applicant today? Seeing none, members of the public, do you have any questions or comments regarding this application? Is there anybody still online? Two people online? Two people online, would you care to have any or ask any questions or have any comments? If you do, please indicate by holding up your hand. Seeing none, we'll move on to the next one, which is a zoning bylaw amendment application for Keith Mott and Kathy Martin Mott, Z082024. You okay? Good.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead.
Through the mayor, it is recommended that we're recommending approval of application Z08-2024. On April 30th, the Land Division Committee had approved application AH03-2024 for the creation of a rural residential lot. This application was submitted to satisfy a condition of approval. The subject property is located on the south side of Gully Road near the intersection of Old Gully Road. It contains an existing single detached dwelling and accessory structures. Highway 401 is located at the south end of the property. There are residential lots to the northeast and west of the subject property. The property does contain field verified wetlands and a tributary of Barnum House Creek in the western portion. A valley with water course is south of the existing residential development. The proposal is consistent with the provincial planning statement, provided the wetland features are zoned appropriately, and it's also in conformity with the Northumberland County and Township official plan. The subject property is currently zoned rural, special exception zone number 68 with an environmentally sensitive area in the township's zoning bylaw 19/2019. The special rural 68 zone permits a wide range of uses, including single detached dwellings. The zone requires a minimum lot area of 5 hectares and a minimum lot frontage of 100 meters. The zoning bylaw amendment is required to address both the lot frontage of the severed and retained lots, which are proposed to be 67.99 meters for both. The amendment will place the wetlands and water course and associated 30-meter setback for the wetlands in an environmental protection zone for conformity with the provincial policy statement and our official plans. The environmentally sensitive area will be shortened to correspond with the water course location identified by Lower Trent Conservation through site visits in accordance with Ontario Regulation 4124. The application was circulated to departments and agencies. The Public Works Department had no concerns with the proposal. A Lower Trent Conservation Authority advised they had no objections and request that the wetlands or require that the wetlands be placed in the environmental protection zone. It was noted that the water course that was identified on site meets the feature definition in accordance with the regulation 4124. And that they concur with placing or reducing the size of the environmentally sensitive area to correspond with that location. Northumberland County had no objections with the proposal, as did Enbridge Gas. The Ministry of Transportation advised that they have no concerns with the proposal. They did note that the subject lands fall within the MTO permit control area. Therefore, any future development on the lands will require a permit from them prior to receiving a building permit. The application was circulated to property owners within 120 meters. And a sign was posted on the property. We have received no public comments to date. The proposed severed lot approved through the application AO3 2024 is located in a rural part of the municipality on Gully Road, which is a municipally maintained road. The lots are sized appropriately for residential uses. The wetlands identified by Lower Trent and associated 30-meter setback are to be zoned environmental protection. The EP zone will ensure protection of the wetland and the habitats the area provides. Staff visited the property with Lower Trent Conservation to confirm the location of the stream in the spring. The applicant had made modifications to the lot over the years to accommodate drainage around the septic system, which was included in the original mapping. The location was identified based on amendments to Section 20 of the Conservation Authorities Act. Therefore, the environmentally sensitive area is proposed to be shortened from its current location as a result of the new regulations. The proposed severed and retained lands do not comply with the minimum lot frontage and area for the special rural 68 zone. Therefore, the rezoning is required. And again, as noted, the wetland and buffers will be placed in environmental protection zones. And we are recommending approval of the application. Thank you.
Madam Planner, any questions or comments? Councilor Ingeberg.
To you, Mayor, and to our planner, and actually to all of council. This property I brought up at Lower Trent, and I explained to them, and even their map shows it, that this contributory that they say to Barnum House Creek is not right. Because you can see where the map comes down and it flows to the west down towards Highway 401. So what I've explained to Lower Trent is that the two little water courses there, one I believe is an artesian well runoff, and this runoff here that goes through the Mott property literally crosses the Gully Road and goes nowhere. It goes up around into Old Shelter Valley Road, and literally it's just a field. So that I would bet right now that there's probably not enough water in there to fill a coffee cup. Maybe after the rain, but so what happens, and I explained this to Lower Trent, is what happens when we bring this to council and say that's a creek or a stream, it creates another hurdle for the resident to jump. So in this circumstance, another one's coming up, I would suggest, or maybe even make a motion, that we have a better field study of these severances before we make an accusation that it's a stream. Especially when it costs the residents up to $5,000-6,000 for an archaeological study because of that statement. So to nobody's wrongdoing here, but moving forward, I would suggest that we do that. Lower Trent probably, they also admit that some of their mapping is not up to date. So.
Through the mayor, if council wishes that the water courses be further assessed, the applicants will then have to retain a consultant to do so. I was with Lower Trent when they conducted the site visit and saw water present and a definite defined depression that they state meets the regulation requirements. Regardless of whether we place the ESA zone to match their regulation, they have regulations that would still be in effect and the applicant would still be bound by meeting those requirements, and permit requirements would be in place. And if they dispute that, then I would expect that Lower Trent would also ask them to hire an expert to provide evidence that states contrary. But I trust the work that the Conservation Authority has done, and they have the experts in that field. So my recommendation is based on their expert advice. Thank you.
Any other comments? Go ahead, Mike.
So I agree with Tracy, but I also would like to make a motion that we pass a motion to further investigate water courses that
Like you can't talk about something that's not on this agenda today.
it is. I'm talking about this proposal here.
This is not a council meeting. This is a public meeting.
Okay,
Can't bring it up at a council meeting.
I'll do that. Thank you.
Anybody else have any comments?
Mayor Local,
Yes.
if I may. This is getting the resident the lot that they have asked for and have gone through the process. I do not want to see this resident or any resident get caught up in any more cost. He is, this resident has done what has been asked. They have come through, they have gotten him the lot that he has requested. So I would just say that I'm ready to vote on this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can't vote that.
All right, I'll wait.
We want to comment.
I'll wait. Thank you.
Is there anybody representing the applicant today? Come on up. Or Keith. Oh, you got it. I said, thank you.
Just one quick question, environmental protected area, expansion of the 401 with the map that I just got a couple weeks ago from the township. It shows that the environmental protected area is going to be part of the 401 expansion. Now, are they going to be stopped from that expansion because it's a protected area? That protected area also goes out halfway onto Gully Road. So any other expansion on Gully Road, will it be stopped because of that also?
I can't answer that question. I don't know. I can't answer that question. Tracy, can you?
Thank you. Through the mayor. The works that the Ministry of Transportation is doing would be subject to environmental assessment work. So they would have to review that through their process and that regulatory body. The feature itself does not extend onto Gully Road. It's the 30-meter buffer. And I would expect that there's regulatory language that speak to infrastructure projects in those related acts. Thank you.
Does that answer your question, sir?
That's good, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there members of the public that would like to ask questions regarding this application? Seeing none, how about the people on? We have this applicant, better read it on. Z082024, and are there any applicant, pardon me, any members of the public that are on Zoom that want to ask any questions or have any comments? Seeing none, we'll move along. And the next motion is a prepared motion that the council of the township of Alma reconvene to the municipal planning regular council meeting on November 26, 2024 at 10:41 a.m. Could I get a mover and a seconder for that? Moved by Councillor Booth. Seconded by Councillor O'Neill. Any discussion? All in favor? The motion is carried. Moving on to planning bylaws. And the first one is bylaw 83-2024 to amend bylaw 19-2019 zoning bylaw Z08-2024. That bylaw 83-2024 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 19-2019 zoning bylaw Z08-2024 be given a first, second, and third reading and finally pass this 26th day of November 2024. Can I get moving in a second? Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, seconded by Councillor O'Neill. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. The next one is bylaw 84-2024 to amend bylaw 19-2019 zoning bylaw Z09-2024-2024-1126. The bylaw 84-2024 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 19-2019, a zoning bylaw Z09-2024 be given a first, second, and third reading and pass this 26th day of November 2024. Mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Ainsworth, seconded by Councillor O'Neill. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. Bylaw 85-2024 to amend bylaw 19-2019 zoning bylaw Z10-2024 on 2024-1126. That bylaw 85-2024 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 19-2019 zoning bylaw Z10-2024 be given a first, second, and third reading and finally pass this 26th day of November 2024. Could I get moved to seconder? Moved by Councillor Booth. Seconded by Councillor O'Neill. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. Next, we have bylaw 86-2024 to amend bylaw 19-2019 zoning bylaw Z11-2024 2024-1126. That bylaw number 86-2024 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 19-2019 zoning bylaw Z11-2024 be given a first, second, and third reading and finally pass this 26th day of November 2024. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, seconded by Councillor Ainsworth. Any discussion? All in favor? Motion is carried. Going to move on to number 9. And this one is in regards, is PLN 2024, addition to reserve proposal for Alderville First Nation 26 November 2024. Tracy, or pardon me, planner, Madam Planner, can you please take us through this?
Thank you, Mayor Logel. Just pulling up the report. Bear with me, the internet is a little slow. Thank you. On July 3rd, 2024 and August 8th, 2024, the township received 2 letters regarding the proposals to add 4 parcels of land acquired by Alderville First Nation pursuant to the Williams Treaties First Nation Settlement Agreement, settled in August of 2018 between the William Treaties First Nations, Ontario, and Canada. There will be a financial loss of tax base due to the transfer of lands, and there are costs associated with maintenance of shared roads. There are no staffing implications related to this report. In terms of legal assessment, the township should work with Alderville to enter into agreements for services provided by the township and net tax loss adjustments. The legislation that governs reserve lands is the addition of lands to reserves and Reserve Creation Act. And the process for how the addition of reserves occurs is outlined in the Land Management Manual, Chapter 10, Additions to Reserves. The guidelines acknowledge that First Nation local government agreements may be required to address the provision of services, a consultation and dispute resolution process for matters of mutual concern or potential net tax loss adjustments to a local municipality. The guidelines suggest the creation of protocols or memorandums of understanding to assist in the outlining of broad principles related to both parties to adhere to and working together, defining a relationship and goals of the parties, recognizing each other's jurisdictions, identifying the process for maintaining relationships, and providing for dispute resolution. The guidelines acknowledge the governance, compatibility, and harmonization help to set out common process for the 2 or more neighboring governments to coordinate their approaches to land use and development. It's connected to the strategic plans, goal of good governance for the negotiation and maintenance of shared service agreements with neighboring municipalities, Alderville First Nations, the Public Library Board, and community partners. There are 4 parcels proposed to be added to Alderville First Nations. The first is the Halsey property located at 11847 Second Line. It is approximately 24.95 hectares or 61.65 acres. And it is adjacent to Second Line Road for approximately 141 meters along its north limits and 684 meters along the eastern limits, totaling approximately 125 meters. It's currently designated rural, and the zoning bylaw correctly identified this parcel as already being within the Alderville First Nation lands, so it does not have a zone category applied to it. The annual taxation is $3,572. The site is characterized by a mix of natural landscape, including forested areas, bushlands, and wetlands. The land is close proximity to Rice Lake and other water bodies. Under the official plan zoning regulations, there'd be very limited development potential on the site. The second property is identified as the Mayoko property. It's located on concession 10 part lot 20 in the geographic township of Haldeman. It has an area of about 8.57 hectares or 21 acres. First Line Road runs along the north limit of the property for approximately 183 meters, and Roseneath Landing Road runs along the west for approximately 392 meters, and County Road 45 runs along the south limit for approximately 155 meters. The official plan designates the property as Oak Ridges Moraine Countryside Rural and there's also a high aquifer vulnerability identified, as well as landform category 2. The zoning is Oak Ridges Moraine Countryside. The annual taxation is $1,365. At this time, there's no development applications on the site or specific development history of the site. Under the official plan and zoning bylaw, there would be very limited development potential due to the location on the Oak Ridges Moraine. The next property is identified as the smoke property at 8838 County Road 45. It is approximately 0.449 hectares or 1.11 acres. County Road 45 runs along the south limit for approximately 48 meters. The official plan designates it as rural and it's zoned rural residential with an annual taxation of $635. This time, there's no development applications on the site or development history, and there's limited potential for development on site. The Stevenson property is located on concession 10 part lot 19. It's approximately 3.97 hectares or 9.81 acres. It's located along first line for approximately 20 or 277 meters on the north end, and County Road 45 runs along the southeast limit for approximately 384 meters. The official plan designates the property as Oak Ridges Moraine Countryside. And the zoning is Oak Ridges Moraine Countryside with an annual taxation of $1,057. The site's heavily forested and there's no development applications or site-specific development history on the site. Under the official plan and zoning bylaw, there's very limited development potential on site. Staff reviewed the mapping provided by Indigenous Services Canada. When the mapping was cross-checked with the PIN mapping from the registry office, the area for the additions do not correspond for the Mayoko, Smoke, and Stevenson properties. When providing a letter of support, we should seek clarification and provide an indication of support based on the PIN mapping. As such, we're providing a recommendation that the mayor submits a letter of support for the additions to the Aldergrove First Nation Reserve. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Planner. Questions? Did I understand you say in the first application it was already part of the overlay?
Our zoning bylaw incorrectly identified it as part of the Alderville First Nation, so a zone category hadn't been applied. If this isn't successful, then we would look at applying an appropriate zone through a comprehensive review in the future.
My second one, are there any of the 4 parcels, is there any development on the properties? Like, I mean, buildings or anything like that?
I don't believe so. I'd have to double check. I can get back to you on that.
Doesn't sound like it is, but, I guess my question was because it's been mentioned, that we could negotiate for some of the services that this is, that we provide. I don't know exactly how we do that, but if we build it, then we think we never, potential provider or something like that, and not property. And about how many, I'm trying to count it up, looks like you're going 500 meters in total on road frontage.
I believe there's more than that. I'd have to total that up.
Which also, my point is, also could be included as part of the charge for maintaining roads. We'd have to look at it.
Yeah, I think that would be appropriate.
We'll figure out how to do that. Any questions from the council?
Through you, Mayor Logal, to Madam Planner. I'm just wondering if this is a little premature, going through to the end result, if there is some discrepancies in some of the properties.
Through the mayor, the Canadian government provided the PIN numbers. So those numbers are specific to a parcel. So we were able to cross-check that. Based on that, I think the letter of support would identify that we're supportive of the reference to the pins and that they should correct their mapping accordingly. I don't expect that they would place lands that didn't correspond with those pins within that First Nation reserve area that's proposed.
Thank you. Oh, Mayor Logal, if I may too. Through you, Mayor Logal, to Madam Planner. there is different references to the Oak Ridges Moraine and the different classifications. My only comment would be that they would be, I guess, how far reaching is the act to make sure that the Alderville First Nations are complying with the act with the Oak Ridges Moraine? I suppose that's just a comment, I guess, a comment question, maybe your comment if you could.
I expect that if the lands were included within the reserve, they would fall under their own governing requirements, and I don't believe the provincial policies would necessarily apply to those lands. We could encourage that they review the plan and try to be consistent with it, but I don't believe we have the authority to require that. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, two comments. One is that this Thursday, November 28th at 7:30 p.m., the Alderville First Nation, in partnership with the Campbellford Rotary Club, is actually holding a session on treaty knowledge gathering, and it is specifically about the Williams Treaty. So if anybody on council or in the public wants to learn more, that would be an excellent opportunity, and I do hope to be there myself. I concur with the observations about the road being mentioned, the road services agreement being mentioned. I am uncomfortable with any reference to lost taxes because I see this the exact opposite. I read this as taxes we've collected that we should not have collected, because if we're looking at the 1923 agreement, that land should have been part of Alderville for all of these years.
Comments? Go ahead, Councilor Lindsay.
Through you, Mayor. So I took the time to read a lot of this Williams Treaty, and I would say that we don't sign anything. There's multiple sections in the treaty that we're not talking about today that need to be addressed. Section 10 right through section 15. It talks about proposal and assessments. It talks about selection of the area. It talks about reserve creation. It talks about dispute resolution, environment management, site assessments, third-party access and landlocking residents adjacent to it. We haven't covered any of that stuff. And it needs to be read and in its entirety, to make sure that all these are addressed. You know, we talked to the INAC to address any of our concerns, and you know, with the tax laws, it also talks about that, and you know, and it talks about being a neighbor in good faith, so those kinds of things. So I would suggest that we might have to hire a consultant to investigate and read this in its entirety and make sure that everything is crossed and make sure that everything is done even before it had come to council. I don't know that as a councillor.
I don't have any response to that. If that's council's wish, they'll have to make a recommendation accordingly.
Any other comments? I'll read the motion first. That council direct the mayor to respond to the correspondence from Municipal Services in Canada expressing support of the proposed addition to Alderville First Nation, and that a copy of the correspondence be forwarded to Alderville First Nation. We can move this item. Moved by Deputy Mayor Solder, seconded by Councilor O'Neill. Deputy Mayor, you have the first opportunity to comment.
I'm prepared to vote.
Thank you. Councilor O'Neill.
I've already had a chance to comment.
Thank you. Anybody else that wishes to comment? Councilor Ainsley.
The final comment is to council is to make sure that you understand what you're voting on. Make sure that all the you know, your Ts have been crossed and Is have been dotted, and we're not doing that right now. So I don't know if we're going to pass a motion and if we're giving up the, well, if we're going to pass that, is that giving up our rights to do any other investigation or suggestions? Or agreements? Then we shouldn't be passing it.
Any other questions, comments regarding this application? Motion on the floor. All in favor? Opposed? Motion's carried 3-2. Next, we have administration reports. And the first one is fire apparatus plan update, second edition. Oh. We're gonna take a 5-3, if I can get a motion to this one. Moved by Councilor Stover, seconded by Councilor Booth. All in favor? Motion carried.
for the purchase of this apparatus to provide more context to council with respect to all of the work that has been done into the past and what has led us up here to today, including the past minutes with respect to what council has approved. So this apparatus is the next step. In identifying what we have brought forward and purchased with respect to changing of the fleet for the fire department, I believe that we have also identified another efficiency here. And that is by combining a pumper rescue apparatus to replace a rescue truck. And it will likely identify the need that we will no longer need old 481, which was the old tanker truck that was no longer able to certify the pump. And the pump within that truck was not of the appropriate size to run as a pumping apparatus. And so this vehicle that's before you will complete the purchasing identified in the procurement plan. If we eliminate the need for 481, then we will be able to remove that from the fleet. And then it appears as though the next apparatus purchase for the fire department will not be until 2035. I did not put that in the report, but I did go over and review some things after speaking to Mayor Lobo yesterday. The other thing is that the procurement plan that was brought before council was identified that we would debenture the money to purchase the apparatus to upgrade the aging fleet. But because the first apparatus was delayed the first year, we have not had to borrow any money at this point. Our hopes are that we can fund this from our fire capital, our working capital, and our DC charges. Further in 2025, our DC charges implementation bylaw needs to come back to council so that we can adjust how we can use those funds, as it has been discovered that we're a little bit behind some of the other municipalities with respect to using development charges. So that pretty much brings us here to today. And what this is the next step in the process that we've already been through.
Thank you, Chief. One question, the other thing I think we talked perhaps a little bit about yesterday was the the rescue van and the condition of it. This is the one that I believe that is 19 years old now.
Yes, in the health report, in one of the, sorry, I will back up that, Mayor Logo, through you. So one of the annual reports that came before council was the identification that the motor in the old rescue truck 493 had a significant engine leak. And it required the removal of that engine in order to fix it. And so we had made recommendation that we replace that vehicle 1 year early. With the identification of where 481 has gotten us to, and the procurement of the apparatus to where we are today, ultimately it makes the most sense to replace that vehicle. And then once we receive the new pumper rescue truck, we will probably ultimately identify that old truck 481 could likely be sold, and we would not need to replace it as part of the procurement plan.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the council? Councilor Booth, do you have a question?
Yes, through your worship, to the fire chief. I went through all this last night, and thank you for sending me the answers that I had asked a week or two ago. Just one thing that I can't see in there, Dave, is did we purchase a fire apparatus in 2023 or 2024? Because I don't see it on the new list. Is it still, are we still waiting for it or whatever? Because I see the two utility vehicles that were purchased.
Yeah.
But I don't see anything newer than 2023. Is there something missing from here, or no, are we still waiting for it?
The pumper rescue in Station 2 is the new pumper rescue. Can I ask what list you are looking at?
The one that's on right here that you just gave us on this meeting.
Can I approach and have a look at that?
Yeah, come and look at it. This is this is this the right one then? It's just, I don't know which one. I have this one, which was given to us, but then I've been looking at this one. I just don't see it. Where the new
I can
piece.
explain.
Oh,
Okay.
excuse me, our logo, would you be able to, could I ask Counselor Booth to give me the page number he's referring to?
Sure, says page 46 of 57 or page 30. This is in the report.
Is this?
And,
is
and it
this
could
on,
be,
10.2?
let me go back and see exactly. This is under this report, CAO 2024, Fire
Okay.
Apparatus Plan Update.
And the page,
I can help.
Yeah,
the page,
page is 108 of
108.
363.
thank you.
And it could be, I'm looking at the wrong one. I don't know. Go ahead.
So the procurement plan that you have before you has the date of 2021 on it, which was when we actually started looking at a procurement plan. It wasn't approved by council until 2023. And in 2023, it was identified for the replacement of truck 483 at that time. Please keep in mind that as the apparatus moves from stations, the numbers do change on them, and that's what potentially can make it confusing. So anything that is in the 470s numbers is a pumper apparatus. Anything that's in the 480s is a tanker apparatus, and the 490s is a utility or rescue apparatus. So to start with, in 2023, the procurement plan identified the replacement of truck 483, which we did. We received that truck in 2024. We ordered it in 23, but it arrived in 24. It actually went into service of August of this year. The next truck that we identified to be replaced was 481. But I was asked and challenged by council to look at what would it cost to refurbish that vehicle, and I brought that report back to council. In consideration of keeping that vehicle, we decided that we would move it to Station 3 as a tanking apparatus, and that we would continue on our procurement plan and replace 493. In review, and as I have mentioned previously, I believe that through this conversation, we've identified another efficiency that we will not need to replace 481 with this next order. So therefore, we are making the update to you, Councillor Booth, that we now would like to change the procurement plan that we only require 2 apparatus. We won't need 3. We are very much hoping that we will not need to borrow any money as approved by council. And in listening to all of the councillors trying to make everybody happy.
Just hold on, but I just need the answer then, Dave, where? Okay.
I should ask for.
Through your worship, I'm just asking still clarification on my question.
Go ahead.
Just go back to what you said, Dave, is so where is we did get something in 2024?
Yes, so what we got in 24 replaced 483.
And what number is that now then in 2024?
472.
And it's saying here 2021. So is it the year it's built or the year we actually, I guess that's my question. Is it the year the apparatus is built or the year that we receive it? Because if it's 2021, the year they built it, and we didn't get it till 2024, we're already 3 years into our 15 years.
So it starts from the year you receive it, the year of the vehicle. So although we wanted it in 2023, and we procured it in 23, we still didn't receive it to 24. And if we remember going back to the COVID conversations, the delivery of fire apparatus, we were looking at 3 years on an average. So we were actually very lucky to receive it as soon as we did. So that answers the question. So 483 was the one on the procurement plan that was scheduled to be replaced in 23. 481 was to be replaced in 25, and 493 in 26. And again, there's no point in repeating myself on that, but you understand the gist of how we got there.
Yeah, I'd like to ask one question, and I didn't realize, but you're telling me that if you have a 491 in Grafton and you move it to Centerton, the number changes?
Correct.
From 491 to 492?
To 493. The last digit in the 3-digit number associated to fire apparatus throughout Northumberland County is associated to the station number.
Okay.
So 491 is a rescue truck in station 1. 493 is a rescue truck in station 3. Station 2 does not have a rescue truck, and we don't think or believe that we need one at this time. So when we look at the size of the rescue truck that we purchased for station 1 that was ordered prior to my time, it's a very good, useful vehicle. And because we're not the Haldeman and the Aldenwick fire departments, we're one, that apparatus can be used throughout the entire township. So we don't feel that we need to duplicate it. That was done in the past.
Thank you for clarifying that, because couldn't understand how these numbers are all over the place all the time.
That makes a sense.
Thank you, Dave. Any more further questions? Go ahead, Councilor O'Neill.
Actually, a comment and a question, and I know I've already shared my comment with you that I would like to see those reports on the website so that I can reference them. And I see one of them's been added, so we're on a roll. The second is a question about if you report to Centerton and there's only 2 vehicles, but 12 people report, how does that work?
So I'll explain it for context. It's not directly related to the procurement plan. But in fairness, so the fire department, a couple of years ago, we introduced what's called a duty officer. That duty officer is responsible for answering the 911 call. Prior to that, it used to be whoever got to what station first. So it was a little bit disorganized. And so what happens is when the calls go off, people respond to the stations, and it's by way of really luck of the people that are available. That's really the way volunteer part-time department work. We've never had a time when more people have showed up to a station than apparatus that we have. But in the event that more people would show up, as an example, 12 people to station 2, and we have capability of carrying 8, then through radio communications and communication to the duty officer, we usually try to establish a second crew, or we would make arrangements for those firefighters to be picked up.
Okay, thank you.
Dave, I think it's a good plan. I think you are going to save money overall. I'm not sure where the money's coming and where the reserves are. And can you tell me where you're going to get that actually, the dollars and cents of each department?
Yes. Okay. So in conversation with Aaron with respect to our working capital, we have a couple of $1 million there. Currently the fire department reserves is sitting at 434, somewhere around that mark. Council had previously passed that if we needed to, we could borrow the money to get ahead, because that was the way to then have the funds every year in our budget that would move us forward down the road. Whether we are able to get them from working capital and reserves, which we're confident we can, or whether we actually have to borrow the money, based on the 317,500 going into the budget every year, we're confident that everything would be paid for by mid 2028. In the event that we can get more DC charges, and identifying DC charges that we can pull now, we speculated would more than likely be paid for well before 2020.
Thank you. And your proposal is to purchase a new truck in 2025, pardon me, 2025. And there's a savings because there's a truck available now.
So, Mayor Logo, to clarify a couple different steps in that. I'm not asking council to spend the money now. I'm asking permission to order the vehicle. I don't have a guarantee of when it will arrive. What I'm told is if we order it now, then we can save the percentage on what it would cost us if we ordered it later. So the money is still not spent until we receive the vehicle sometime in 2025.
And I'm not sure if you're gonna answer, but how much was, I can't remember, how much was the savings?
The increase right now was 4%. The increase later is 11. So it's approximately 50 to 60,000 is what we save by ordering now as opposed to waiting until 2025.
Thank you. I would just point out that I'm on to your next part of the agenda. We go fire. Anybody have any more questions on pending one fire apparatus plan update recommendation? I get a motion. The council received report PA 2424 the fire apparatus plan update, second edition for the information. Moved by Captain Mayor Stover, second by Councilor Kane. All in favor? Motion carried. 10.2 is fire apparatus plan update, which was referred from November 12, 2024, regarding council meeting. Does anybody have any? Do you have any more comments on this one?
Mayor Logal, I do not.
Council have any questions regarding this?
Actually, Mayor Vogel.
Yes.
Can you just remind me of when the original tender was done for this? I know we've delayed on the ordering.
So the original tender was done in 2023 after the procurement plan was approved by council.
Right.
Any further questions or comments? And I just want to make sure I understand. It sounds like you had about $400,000 in fire budget to go towards this.
As of today, currently, my understanding is there's about 400 and some odd in reserves though.
And that should be added on 2025, and we'll take it up to 650 to 550 or something.
So in review of the capital account, which we will do with Aaron, we will need to figure that out for the next few years, yes, but based on overall calculations, everything would be paid for up to date by 2028.
Anybody else have any further questions? I'll read the motion. The council received report CAO 2024-22 fire apparatus plan update and information, and the council authorized the sole source purchase of a fire apparatus from Battle Shield Industries Incorporated for a cost of $711,250 plus HST as specified in RFP 203-2023 and bylaw we brought forward for consideration to authorize the mayor and clerk to execute a purchase agreement with Battle Shield Industries Incorporated for a fire apparatus at a cost of $711,250 plus HST. Hubert in second. Moved by Councilor Ainsworth, seconded by the Deputy Mayor Stover. I have one question. Just $711 and $250. You know how much the difference between that is and the original one, which is the RFP
4%.
4%. So,
yeah.
4%. Anybody else have any further questions or comments? All in favor? Motion carried. We'll move on to 10.3, which is HR 2024-07, 2025 cost of living allowance COLA 26 November 2024. Available, this is Aaron available for you? I can.
I'm online.
There you go. Good morning, Aaron.
Good morning, Mayor and Council.
You want to give a little explanation? If you're capable.
Sure, through you, your mayor. This is our annual CPI indexing for COLA. And just bringing a report forward to start the 2025 year with, as per CPI October, Ontario is a 2% increase. And then to take it a little bit further, from 2023, when a bank was created, and also last year, we spoke of emptying the bank as soon as possible without going over a certain percentage. So this is bringing the report forward to encompass both of those.
I didn't hear the last
Can you
sentence.
repeat the last? What?
Sentence, yeah, just a couple words.
The last sentence.
Just to encompass the 2% and the bank, so that the bank would be completely gone and moving forward on a fresh slate.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Go ahead, Councilor Booth.
Through your worship to the treasurer. Aaron, can you tell me, so what's this going to mean for our budget for 2025? Do you have an idea of what increase that is going to be?
As of right now, I have not figured out the numbers completely. But I believe, do an enter on the report of the increase of what it would be on our overall payroll.
Yeah, because under the risk assessment, it said it would be 156,000. Therefore, an overall increase to payroll of 78,000 because we're taking some from the bank. I'm just worried what the bottom number is for our budget. If you could maybe get that to us later, that what does, $156,000 next year in more salaries relate to in our overall budget? And it doesn't have to be now. I don't know what 150, I always thought it was 100,000 was usually 1%. I could be off. I'm not sure.
It's usually around that, about 1%.
I didn't hear.
But until we know all of our numbers together, I won't have a clear explanation of what it will look like.
Okay, thank you.
I just like to comment quick on that. And I didn't hear you, Aaron, but I'm almost thinking that 1% is about $80,000 to $85,000. Is that correct?
It was.
Looking over the past through you, your mayor, it looks like it's about the 1%. It looks like about 100,000 is about 1%. With hopefully the increase, I'm still waiting for our taxation information of what's coming through. I won't have a full understanding of where we sit until that's entered.
Thank you, Aaron. I have one more question. Do we have a policy that states in our I guess it's human resources or whatever it is, that states how much a COLA increase is supposed to generate each year? Or there's a calculation or something?
Through you, your mayor, that is a policy under the HR. It was updated about 4 years ago, so that it was standardized, that it was always taken from the CPI in October for Ontario. So whatever the CPI is what has been indicated for cost of living.
Thank you. And just so I perfectly understand it, you're suggesting 4%, 2% based on the COLA from the past year increase, and another 2% that is in the I can't say it's in the bank because I'm not sure if it is in the bank or not, but it's something that we pulled back from our from our employees 2 or 3 years ago because we did not want to pay the inflation rate of 6 or 7%. So that's why it was put in the bank.
That is correct. So that comes from, it was from the 2022 October CPI. It was 6.5%, and staff got a 3% increase for 2023 instead of the 6.5, where 3.5 of it went into, they at the time called it a bank. And last year we approved to take out 1.5 of it to top up last year. And this would be the remaining 2% that was not given in 2023.
Thank you. Any other questions? Go ahead, Mary.
So I actually have a few. I'm going to reiterate a position I've said in previous years, which is I'm uncomfortable with these coming to us as separate reports rather than having a system that looks at payroll, wages, working conditions, all rolled into one discussion. So I do note that we have already given an increase of $15,485 for benefits, and that was a month ago. And I understand about the reserves, the use of reserves for this year, but that's certainly not a long-term solution for this council to be thinking that we are paying wages from reserves. So I have a concern there. And I have a concern with the overall increase to this benefit or to this budget when we haven't received the OPP increase, but I'm certainly reading articles that are making me concerned. We haven't seen and received our asset retirement obligations and what that those implications are for us. So yeah, those are my comments.
Thank you. Any other comments from council members? Council Booth.
Through you, your worship, Aaron, and I don't know if you can answer this, Aaron, but I thought about this because this 2% is coming from the bank. If we had former employees, are they entitled to any of that 2% because they should have got that raise back in 2022, or you have to be a current employee to get it?
As it states right now, you have to be a current employee. This was what was brought forth to council in 2022 for approval. And it was never stated whether it goes to past employees, current employees, etc.
Okay, it was just a question I thought is that it's actually from 2021 or 2022 that we owed it to those people, but because we capped it at 3, it's almost like a retroactivity thing, but I guess. Okay, you answered my question. Thank you.
Recommended the council of corporation council development proposal in as follows. The council received HR report 2024-07-2025 cost of living allowance for information, and council approved a 4% COLA increase effective January 1st, 2025. So I can move in a second. Moved by Deputy Mayor Stolber, second by Councilor Ainsworth. Any further questions or discussion? Go ahead, Councilor O'Neill.
I continue to have concerns about a 4% increase at this point. I am very happy with the first 2%, but I would like to see the second 2% brought back as part of the overall discussion of the budget increase.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you. The next one is 10-4-2025 annual meeting schedule and procurement bylaw amendment. Who's going to use the That's good. Thank you.
Say it here, so he.
2025 annual meeting schedule and procedural bylaw. I guess I've got a different copy than you. You say perfume, you say? No, you say. Oh, did I? Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you.
The document in front of us does refer to both at the report title. It refers to it as the procedural bylaw, but then in the recommendation, it does have procurement. So I see where you saw it, Mayor Logo. So that needs to be changed.
Is there any questions or comments from the person?
Through you, Mayor Logal, no, I'm happy to answer any questions that council has on any of the information already in the report.
Any questions or comments from council? I did note one thing, clerk, that the December 25 has 3 meetings. And I believe historically we only have 2 meetings in December. I think we skip a week, but there's only normally 2 meetings, so I think we should consider that. Somehow we're not doing it some way or another. And
Right.
does anybody have any questions or comments? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Just one question, and this would be to Madam Clerk. And I'm just wondering about the time. Is that still working for staff and everybody to get here at 9:30 in the morning?
Good question. Please go ahead.
So through you, Mayor Logal, so the 9:30 a.m., we've just left everything status quo for the time being. Just the only amendments we're bringing forward at this point is just to take into account council's direction from closed session to enter to add the committee of the whole. So we'll be doing a complete overhaul and review of our procedure bylaw in 2025, at which time we'll be taking a look at meeting start times. But for now, the 9:30 is working.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? It's recommended the council of the corporation of the county of Allen and Colvin act as follows. The council received report CLK 2024-31-2025 annual meeting schedule and procedural bylaw amendment for information, and that the 2025 annual meeting schedule be approved. And bylaw to amend the township procedure bylaw authorizing the implementation of the committee of the whole being brought forward with consideration. Could you hear me back there?
I
Okay,
could hear
thank
you.
you. I didn't have my mic on. Can I get a mover and a second? Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, seconded by Councilor Booth. Further discussion? Go ahead, Councilor Booth. Very easy.
Through you, Mayor, just a question to our clerk. If this discussion analysis of options, is that like terms of reference for us? Or should we have a terms of reference? Or is there already one for community of the whole that we could share?
Maybe you're one ahead of us.
No.
Okay.
Through Mayor Logal, so committee of the whole being because it is a function of council, it would be incorporated more within the procedure bylaw as opposed to a standalone terms of reference for a committee of the whole. So that is something that we can look at developing if that's what council wishes, but it would be I've seen it both ways in that there's a standing terms of reference for committee of the whole, or it's just addressed within the procedure bylaw, just with special rules. So with the amendments that I've done to the procedure bylaw that are coming later in the agenda, that's sort of acting as your guiding principles for what the committee of the whole will look like at this point in time.
Go ahead. Deputy Mayor.
Through your mayor logo to Madam Clerk, just a question on the meetings of committee of the whole. I'm getting used to that term. How long do those meetings usually take? I have heard other municipalities going on for 8, 10, 12 hours. Are these hopefully going to be done in 4 hours?
Go ahead. Madam Clerk.
Through your mayor local, committee of the whole, because they are a less formal meeting of council, they're still formal, but just not as intense as a regular council meeting. There is more fulsome debate, so they do have a tendency to go on longer.
During our lunch.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor? Motion is carried. 10.5, Advisory Committee Term of Reference Review. There's a lot of information that we went through. I think we have to split them up because I can't agree with all of them, but maybe that's only me. So,
Point of order, please.
yes.
I would like to make a motion that we just receive this report, CLK 2024-32, and we will receive with no action.
Okay. What is your point of order?
Sorry,
Call it.
I did. I'm not sure that we can even be discussing this. I don't think it's appropriate. It is damaging to council's relationship with our volunteers, but it is also counter to the direction given to the CAO on October 12th. Therefore, it would be inappropriate to discuss this report, and the directions given on October 12th are the actions that are to be taken.
Okay, I haven't seen a report from October 12th. Well, is that what you said?
Correct. We gave direction and close to our CAO. And this is counter to that direction.
I haven't seen it. Did you see a report from October 12th?
I attended the meeting, Mayor Logal.
Well,
Mayor Lobo, do we have the right date?
well, I'm wondering that because I didn't think we met on October 12th, but I'm going to check on that.
Sorry, I may be wrong on that one. Yeah, that's 2 weeks. Oh, sorry, November 12th. My apologies. It's November 12th.
I'm looking at October 12th and that
Sorry.
was on Saturday.
November 12th, my mistake there. November 12th.
Okay. November 12th, yes, we did. On October 12th was a Saturday and I wasn't available.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Go ahead.
I don't believe there was any. I want to be careful here because we're talking about a closed meeting and an open meeting, and I don't want to risk saying things that were to get myself into a problem with putting information into a open meeting that was in a closed meeting. I'm not sure if there were any votes taken, and I'm not sure if how to move forward with this.
We cannot discuss anything in closed meeting, or pardon me, in this meeting when it's open, but it was already discussed and closed.
Thank you.
That's what.
Thank you. And that's to my point that we receive with no action today is my motion.
That is not a proper motion. You can vote to receive or defer, but that's it. Or pardon me, refer, whatever you prefer.
That we just received.
That's what the recommendation was. Yeah. The way I read it, the council received report CLK 2024-32 committee of terms of reference for information. Is that what you're referring to?
And that be where that stays for today. That be the only recommendation carried forward at this point.
Okay. I'll read the motion. The council received report CLK 2024-32 committee terms of reference review for information. Could I get a mover in a second?
I move.
Seconder? Councilor Booth? Any further discussion?
Mayor Logo,
Yes.
may I?
Yes.
May I ask a question? In passing recommendation 1, are we able to go into recommendation 2?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, for the purpose of the report, because it was a very heavily there was a lot of recommendations from this report. I did break them out so that every recommendation would be handled individually. So by listing them as recommendation 1, 2 through 5, that does give council the opportunity to discuss each and every one separately from one another. If there's any multi-part recommendations that anybody wants to see broken out, you can divide the question further at that point, but we can deal with that procedurally when we get there. But right now you do have the first recommendation, which is just to receive for information. Councillor O'Neill is referencing a motion to defer, which would need to be moved and seconded to defer the other recommendations within the report to a later meeting.
Thank you. So if we did the wrong paper. First and second, all in favor? The motion is,
Oh, this stops. This does not give us a chance to move forward.
oh, this is for discussing recommendation 1.
Okay, I'm in favor.
All in favor? Motion is carried. Recommendation 2 is recommended the council of the corporation of the township of Elmwood Calderman enact as follows: that the terms of reference for the Heritage Elmwood Calderman Advisory Committee be adopted. Do I get a mover and a seconder?
I make a motion to defer.
Not until it's on the table.
Okay.
I'll make a motion.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, seconder. Second by Councilor Ainsworth. Does anybody have any discussions? Go ahead, Councilor.
I make a motion to defer this so that council's able to move forward as discussed in the meeting on November 12th.
I don't think you can do that. So a motion to discuss this is already on the board.
It is on the table now.
Thank you. I've been corrected. We have a mover to defer this resolution. We have a seconder. Seconded by Councilor Booth. Any further discussion? Yeah, I need to call a recess, please, so we can have a discussion. Okay. Please, I've been asked to call recess, but discussion. Need a mover and a seconder? Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, seconded by Councilor Ainsworth. All in favor? The motion is carried. We'll take a 10-minute break. We got to 12 o'clock.
We didn't vote on anything yesterday. We voted on 3 and 7.
We voted for in close, was that what we thought brought to the committee of the whole? Where we would have time to discuss it in detail.
Mhm.
So I'm not, that's what it was asked for.
That's this one here.
First, that's, yeah,
We
we
voted
said
on
all the
3
terms of
things last-
reference.
Remember, he broke it into 3 things last meeting? And we
Oh, we
voted.
can't.
Yeah.
Mm,
So it has to go
that all
back.
the terms of reference will come to committee of the whole. That we won't dissolve any committees at this point.
Mhm. Mhm.
talk to them? Did John go in to talk to them?
Well, John was wrong when she said, I don't believe we voted on anything. Yeah, three things we broke it into.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm glad I remembered what the third one was.
Well, I'm glad because I asked you yesterday.
I was racking my brain and then I'm in the shower this morning, the water got my brain cells were working.
Discussed it closed before.
I've been given some advice by the CEO and clerk, and I'd like the clerk to take us where we should be going.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, I've been asked to provide some additional information, background information on the report. So this report was brought forward. It was initially brought forward in October and again in December of 2023 to direction to staff to conduct a terms of reference review for all of our advisory committees. With that, we've been doing a look at how the committees have been operating over the past year, as well as the directions that we received back in December, the recommendations from the previous clerk, Nancy McDonald, as well as the council's strategic plan that was recently implemented in order to provide continual process improvement and lean efficiencies to make sure we're operating in an efficient and effective manner here, as well as adhering to good governance principles. The report that Councillor O'Neill is referring to, I was not present at the closed session discussions on the terms of references for advisory committees. However, going back to the minutes, the reported of closed session that was moved and seconded and carried was that part of it was that staff were provided direction in closed session to develop terms of references for advisory committees. So with that, that is why this report is coming to you today. And I put that out there for council's consideration.
Thank you. And where are we sitting right now?
So you currently have a motion to defer on the floor. Motion to defer recommendation number 2, which was moved by Councillor O'Neill and seconded by Councillor Booth.
We haven't done a vote.
That is correct.
Okay. Does anybody have any further comments? Go ahead, Councillor Ainsworth.
Through you, Mayor, I'm wondering if this can be broken down into two things, because we have a terms of reference and we have an issue with the reorganization of a committee.
It would be. It would be.
Okay. No. We can, but we can't because right now we have a motion and seconded to defer. Okay. So we have to deal with that first before we can take your thoughts. Right. To defer. Go ahead, Mike.
Through you, Mayor, should can we defer this with some options? Can I add to that?
You can do that as long as there's a friendly, I'm going to use the word friendly, is that correct? That's what it's called. There are 4 different items for motion to postpone. A motion to postpone shall include a fixed date for the question to come back before council for consideration. Number 2, be made while the main motion or amendment is on the floor and takes precedent over that motion or amendment. Number 3, be debated. However, the debate must be limited to the advisability of the proposed postponement. Only be amended to change the length of the postponement. Oh, we missed a couple of things there. Have we had a date on that motion? Okay. So we're gonna go back and see if we can defer or not. Motion's on the floor is to defer. Can I get a mover in a second? Well, we've got the mover in a second. All in favor?
I thought I needed to clarify mine based on what you just read, Mayor Local. So I think instead what I'm asking is that it be referred to committee of the whole.
Okay. We have you moved it. Was there a seconder to that? Councillor Booth, are you in favor of that?
Yes.
Please.
So for clarity, the motion on the floor is a motion to refer to committee of the whole in January of 2025.
Do you agree with that motion? The seconder agree with that motion as well?
Yes.
I'll call a vote. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Are we, through your mayor logo, is it the wish of the movers to in the entirety of 10.5 on the agenda item?
I believe that'll be a question to our mayor as the chair of this meeting.
Right now, it's number 2.
Sorry, Deputy Mayor, this is the motion is for number 2.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to call a vote. All in favor?
Oh, sorry, I'm not favoring that.
All in favor? Motion is carried. Now we're going to move on to recommendation 3. It is recommended the council of the corporation of the township of Allen enact as follows. That the Recreation, Culture and Community Development Advisory Committee be dissolved effective immediately. And that the Watton Sanctuary Advisory Committee be dissolved effective immediately. And that the terms of reference for the new Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee be adopted. And that staff begin recruitment for the new Parks and Rec Advisory Committee and members of the former Parks, Rec, Culture and Community Development Committee and the Watton Sanctuary Advisory Committee. Personally, I can't support this one. And the reason I can't is because we have very good volunteers that give up their time for what they feel is the best for the community. And I respect them for doing that, and they're doing the best job they can. And at the same time, I know how difficult it is to pick up new members because they're either too busy or they're different than the real volunteers because they don't care. So the real volunteers have to be respected, in my opinion. I'll open it up for discussion. Councilor Ainsworth.
So you, Mayor, I would also concur with your thoughts, and I would like to defer this also with its entirety to our committee of the whole in January.
Thank you. I get a second. I'm sorry.
No, I won't second that.
Councilor Booth.
I think what you mean through your worship is the same motion we made for the recommendation, whatever that was, to defer it to the date.
I believe he said to the committee of the whole, which was the original.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need a second. Second by Councilor Booth. Any further discussion? Councilor O'Neill.
I'm like you, Mayor Logo. I cannot support this as it's written. We do not want to be dissolving committees. Oh, sorry. Thank you.
Motion to defer is on the floor. All in favor of defer? Opposed?
I would like to have a comment as well on my thoughts, how I could see this moving forward. I'm not sure if this is the time to mention it or wait.
I'm not sure what you mean by wait.
Well, if it doesn't go through today, my suggestion would be not dissolving the committee in its entirety is.
Can you do that? This is defer or not defer?
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring it back. All in favor of deferring, and can you read back that wording for us, please?
Yeah, a motion to refer recommendation number 3 to committee of the whole in January of 2025.
All in favor?
Could I ask for a recorded vote on that, please?
Mayor Logo, if it's to be a recorded vote, I think it's only fair that I am allowed to express my thoughts on this.
Go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, there seems to be some confusion at the table here, just in terms of what it is that's happening. When we do a motion to refer, we are not discussing the original contents of the original motion that was to be discussed. At this point, we're just discussing the matter whether or not to postpone it to a future date. All debate on the recommendations that are to be moved and brought forward are to happen at that later date. So at this point, we are not discussing anything other than to either discuss it today or to delay it. The contents of the original, any of the original recommendations will come forward to committee of the whole, as per this motion, for council to then delve into and make a decision, or sorry, make a recommendation to the January council meeting at that time.
Thank you, Cliff. We have a request for a recorded vote. Please, take us through that.
So through your Mayor Logo, we have a request for a recorded vote on the following motion. That the recommendation number 3 be referred to committee of the whole in January 2025. I'll go through the list alphabetically. When I call your name, councillors, if you could please answer yay or nay as to how you intend to vote on the motion. Councillor Ainsworth,
Yay.
Councillor Booth,
Yay.
Councillor O'Neill,
Nay.
Deputy Mayor Stover,
Yay.
and Mayor Logo.
Yay.
The motion is carried.
You tell us what the vote was.
So the motion is carried 4-1. So the recommendation number 3 will be referred to for future debate at the committee of the whole in January of 2025.
The next recommendation is that council, the corporation and township of Almacolton enact as follows. That a $1,500 annual budget be established for the new Parks and Rec Advisory Committee with funds reallocated from the existing Parks, Recreation and Facility Department account. Yeah.
Yeah, so 4 will go with. If it's part of the person.
It's been pointed out that since we are deferring the Parks and Rec committee, that we should not be going on the $1,500. So I accept that point and we'll move forward. Number 5, it is recommended the council of the corporation of township of Almacolton enact as follows. That the Grafton Communal Water Advisory Committee be dissolved effective immediately, and that effective immediately, the public works manager and consultant with the township's drinking water service provider provide updates and reports directly to council as required by applicable legislation and operational requirements. Can I get a move in a second? Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, second by Councillor Ainsworth. Councillor Booth.
Through you, your worship, I'd like to make a motion that this also be deferred to the same as recommendation 2 and 3 were to the committee of the whole meeting in January.
Thank you. Can you read off that motion?
The motion was that recommendation number 5 be deferred to the committee of the whole meeting in January 2025.
Thank you. Can I get a second? Seconded by Councilor O'Neill. We can't have one. I understand we can't discuss,
Yeah.
we can discuss the merits of deferring, but that's it. We can't get into the recommendations from staff. Councilor Booth.
Could I also request a recorded vote for this, please? Thank you.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we've had a recorded vote requested by Councillor Booth. The motion on the table is to defer recommendation number 5 to Committee of the Whole in January of 2025. When I call your name, I'll go through a list of council alphabetically. When I call your name, please answer yay or nay as to how you would like to vote in regards to the motion. Councillor Ainsworth,
Nay.
Councillor Booth,
Yes.
Councillor O'Neill,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Stover,
Nay.
Mayor Logal.
Nay.
The motion is defeated.
Okay, I'll read the motion. That the Grafton Communal Water Advisory Committee be dissolved effective immediately, and that effective immediately, the Public Works Manager in consultation with the Township's drinking water service provider provide updates and reports directly to council as required by applicable legislation and operational requirements. Anybody want to speak? Oh, no, first of all, we have to move in a second. Who's moving in second? It was moved by Deputy Mayor Stover and seconded by Councillor Ainsworth. Deputy Mayor Stover, you have the first opportunity.
Thank you, Mayor Logal. Through you, Mayor Logal. My concerns started a couple of months ago, and with doing some investigation, and since Walkerton, water governance and liability need to be managed and accounted for directly through the appropriate departments. Having the manager of Public Works manage the contract with Lakefront Utility Services will ensure we are complying with the Safe Drinking Water Act and all legislation and operational requirements. And they will land at the desk of if there are any issues arise. One of my concerns is the delay in follow-up with the well. And that was a main sticking point for me in order to get this to where we are now and where it needs to be managed through. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ainsworth.
Through you, Mayor. No, I have the same feeling with it all because of the training that we went through and the responsibility that it takes to staff. And I think with the budget that we have for Lucy to look after all the technical aspects of it for us, I think we're well covered. And I do believe that I do believe that we put the volunteers at risk or something happens to our water system, and I don't think we should be doing that.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Councillor O'Neill.
I actually have two concerns with it. One, we don't have a full-time public works manager at this time, and I would really like to wait until we get a public works manager and get a report from that person once they are in place. I am exceedingly uncomfortable with water being managed on the side of an already busy person's desk. And the second is, I'm not sure we should even be discussing this since we already discussed and made a decision in the summer to continue.
Thank you. Councillor Booth.
Through you, your worship, I'm not in favor of this either. Right now, we currently have 2 members of council out of 5 that sit on the water committee with a member of the public that is a user of the system. That committee in no way hinders any progress with the well or this or that. Right now, they are reporting to the Public Works Manager. It is another opportunity for the public and 2 members of council to ask questions and to dig into budget and do the work that's necessary to spend an hour or 2 hours of our time so that it doesn't come to council. If this passes, then I think in the future, we need to look at the Lucy contract, and I'm not comfortable with it just going to the Public Works Manager and he decides what comes to council and what doesn't. In the Lucy's contract, it says, and I'll repeat, It says Lucy will attend meetings with the Alnwick Haldeman Council as a required basis. A bare minimum, then, we should be having Lucy and Blue Plan and Bruce Highcamp come at least every 2 months to council. And then whatever was going to be discussed at the water meeting, then it should come to us. I'm not comfortable, as Councillor O'Neill said, leaving it to the Public Works Manager to decide whether or not we need that information. So I'm fine with that. If you decide, I don't agree to it, that I think it's a good opportunity for the member of the public that's on the committee and the two councillors to ask questions. But if we're all worried that we are responsible, that's fine. Then I still want Lucy and Bruce Highcamp and all of them to report to council, not to go through. They can give their reports to the Public Works Manager. But if you're saying that I'm liable, then I want to hear it right from Lucy to me, not through somebody that decides to filter it.
Excuse me, Mayor Logal. I think this is exactly how it will be funneled through. And we have the appropriate staff in place, he or she. And I'm quite comfortable with it happening this way. And I do agree as well with Councillor Booth that council needs to be more up to date with the information coming through on, and I'm not saying it hasn't been, but this is a huge responsibility. And since Walkerton, there are a lot of legislation acts that need to be followed. And I believe doing it this way, that this is what will happen. Not that it hasn't been happening in the past, but I'm sure that it will go the way it's supposed to.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? I'll throw in my 2 cents if that's okay. I'm uncomfortable knowing that any member of this council could be, is held accountable and could go to jail or whatever. If something bad happens, that's very clear in the legislature. I think that I agree with Councillor Booth that we should be, in fact, I believe there's a contract. Did you say there was a contract with Lucy?
Yes, it's actually in the contract that we can request that they meet at council. And that's my suggestion, that if we're taking away the water committee, then, and we're all worried as councillors being responsible, like you're saying, Mr. Mayor, then we should make sure that we're not leaving it to one person to decide whether or not we get information. That should come directly to council from Lucy, Bruce Highcamp, and Blue Plan.
Do we have a contract with, I know we have one with Lucy.
Well, I believe we do through Lucy with Bruce Highcamp and that, and those reports are all information that we as council should make sure that we're seeing.
I tend to agree. I don't know if we have a contract that demands that the other 2 people other than Lucy be at a meeting. Go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, for a point of clarity, we do have a contract with Lucy that outlines that they attend council meetings. So that is what the recommendation is there as well, that effective immediately, the Public Works Manager, in consultation with the township's drinking water service provider, provide updates and reports directly to council as required by applicable legislation and operational requirements. So the existing contract is an operational requirement, so that is encaptured here. The contract in and of itself is scheduled for a review in 2025 as well, to make sure that we are capturing all of the necessary legislative and again, operational requirements.
Thank you for that clarification. How often does the group meet now?
Every 2 months, 6 times a year.
Okay, I would have no problem in asking them for that to continue on. It doesn't sound like it's in there, but it sounds like you're recommending that it should be.
I would say at a minimum that if we're not having the water committee meetings, then we would have it every 2 months, a section, whether it be on council or committee of the whole, that Lucy and any contractors to do with the water system of Grafton report to us. Yes.
with the understanding that we can't make a decision at the committee of the whole.
That's why I guess it depends on where council wants it to come. It probably a committee of the whole, because you could discuss things and then recommend to go to council.
Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Mayor Logal, through you, we do get, the documents do funnel through council. I think probably, no, I don't have the agendas right in front of me, but they probably came through council every 3 months. So however, it would continue to come through and council would be seeing these at a more expedient time. Thank you.
Not only reading them, understanding them.
Understanding them.
Thank you. Any further comments? And the motion is to, yes, please.
So the motion that was moved by Deputy Mayor Stover and seconded by Councillor Ainsworth is that the Council of the Corporation, Township of Alnwick-Haldeman enacts as follows. That the Grafton Communal Water Advisory Committee be dissolved effective immediately. And that effective immediately, the Public Works Manager in consultation with the Township's drinking water service provider provide updates and reports directly to Council as required by applicable legislation and operational requirements.
Thank you. All in favor?
Excuse me. I request a recorded vote, please.
Yep, or pardon me, clerk, can you take us through the reported vote, please?
Mayor Logal.
Oh, we just did that.
Yes.
I don't think it's clear in there, the concerns that Councillor Booth was bringing to us, that it would only come through the Public Works Manager versus getting it directly from the service providers. And we want to hear directly from the service providers to have an opportunity to ask questions. So I'm wondering if that should be clarified in the motion.
The motion was made by Deputy Mayor Stover. Are you willing to change your?
No, I believe that it's clear. I mean, Lucy needs to contact the Public Works Manager. Public Works Manager then brings it forward to council. Lucy would not send things directly to council. If there's an issue along the way, they need to report to Public Works Manager.
Thank you. Go ahead. Madam Clerk.
Through you, Mayor Logal, the existing contract stipulates that Lucy reports to the Manager of Public Works. The motion indicates that it's in consultation with, so these would be joint reports coming from our water service provider, which is our hired expert in the field.
Thank you. They've asked for the recorded vote.
Just a comment on that, Mr. Mayor. I'm just going to repeat what it says in the contract is Lucy will attend meetings with the Alnwick-Haldeman Council on a required basis. That's all I'm asking for. I don't care what
Right there.
reports they send, but I believe what Councillor O'Neill said. That's my concern is if we get rid of the committee, then we're just going to replace the committee with us. And I want Lucy to make those reports to us, not Lucy giving the report to the Public Works Manager and then him giving the report to us. Part of the contract is that Larry or Adam will attend our meeting and give us the report so that we can ask questions directly to him.
Is that not what the board says?
So that would, through you, Mr. Mayor, that would be encompassed within the operational requirements. So the contract is an operational requirement, therefore reports would be coming through the process that you're seeing. So it is encapsulated in here within the motion that you have on the floor.
Thank you.
So it is clear in this motion. Thank you.
Recorded vote.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we've had a request for another recorded vote. I will go through council members' names alphabetically. When I call your name, please answer how you would like to vote on the following motion, answering yea or nay. The Council of the Corporation of the Township of Alnwick-Haldeman enacts as follows: that the Grafton Communal Water Advisory Committee be dissolved effective immediately, and that effective immediately, the Public Works Manager, in consultation with the Township's drinking water service provider, provides updates and reports directly to Council as required by applicable legislation and operational requirements. Councillor Ainsworth,
Yes.
Counselor Booth,
No.
Counselor O'Neill,
No.
Deputy Mayor Stover,
Yay.
Mayor Logal.
Yay.
The motion is carried 3-2.
Thank you. Are you, ready for a break yet, or? Keep going?
It's up to you guys.
Take a break.
John,
Do-
Mayor?
One more, we can go.
Can I request a 10-minute break?
I'd like to go for, I'd like to do this last one unless you think we're gonna be a long time, but you can request it.
I need some clarification.
Thank you. Can I get a seconder to wait for 20 minutes? Seconded by Deputy Mayor Stover. Any further discussion? All in favor? Motion's carried. We'll be back here at 20 of 1. Thank you.
Give one.
I really give that one.